Hi, this is Actors Turn Directors interview with Mel Gibson Part 2. Hope you enjoy. Thank you. Question, Mel. You go back a long way with director Peter Weir. In a Playboy interview, you said there is something mystical about the way Weir achieves a mood, an ambience, an atmosphere. How much influence has he had on you as a director? Mel, certainly he's one of the directors I work with who is more in tune with the acting process. Some have not been in tune at all. Peter is very astute as far as performing is concerned. He was born like that. I'm sure I have, to a certain degree, subconsciously taken some things from him. Some of the things he would do technically to achieve an ambience or a mood, I would find so curious. For example, he would shoot a sequence and edit it together in the wrong order or in an order that defied logic, which produces a curious kind of knowledge of something that was going to happen before it happens. It enhances performance because it keeps you on your toes, not knowing what to expect. Question. You've worked with some very good directors: Mark Rydell, Richard Donner, Steve Miner, Franco Zeffirelli, Gilliam Armstrong, Roger Spottiswoode, George Miller, and Peter Weir. I imagine they all work differently. Which one profoundly inspired you both as an actor and as a director? Mel. Yes, they all work differently. I suppose there are many ways to approach screen acting and storytelling. Mark Rydell is a method actor. He talks about motivation and then gives you enough rope to go out and hang yourself. Richard Donner understands the value of performance. He has a tendency to talk right in the middle of the take, yell over the top of it. He's very boisterous and a lot of fun. He is the perfect example of a director who creates an environment where his actors can just feel free as birds to experiment with anything. You say, hey, what if I do this? And he says, try it. Nothing is too crazy for him. Gillian Armstrong also gives you the opportunity to expand and experiment. When I worked with her, there were some days when she was fighting the clock and the budget, yet allowed Matthew Modine and I to horse around for an hour. And when we came up with something that was different, she filmed it. To have that kind of trust from your director, it's very important for the actors to trust their director. It's the first rule in establishing the actor director relationship. There's no room for petty grievances. They block your creativity and your performance. The director has to give the actors the feeling that they have the overall picture of what needs to be achieved and that he's not going to let them go astray, go somewhere that has no connection to the overall direction of the film. It's something that I always look for in a director and definitely practice as a director myself. Question. Tell me about working with George Miller, the doctor turned director. Response. Fantastic. Here is the mathematician, the Einstein of filmmaking. I always think how fortunate I am that I got to work with him and Peter Weir, two really great directors early in my career. George works like he's in a laboratory. I guess that doctor thing, experimenting, dabbling with the elements in the film, is extremely technical, understanding the camera and the lenses and the film speed. He has a very practical approach, which is unorthodox but brilliant. I'd say I pulled the best out of the three people I work for: Peter Weir, George Miller, and Richard Donner. Excellent directors to learn from. From a writer turned director, Bob Town, I learned the economy of words. I think it's advantageous for a director to also be a writer or at least have firm understanding of the mechanics of screenwriting. Question. Why did you decide to become a director? Was it a natural progression for you as an actor? Mel. Yes, look at what we were just talking about. Writer Tom Bob Town, Dr. George Miller, Peter Weir. They come from different places and use different tools and means, but they all share the desire and the need to tell a story. And that's what I've been doing as an actor, telling stories. Question: how did you go about doing your first feature film? Did you do any shorts first, or did you just decide, hell, I'm going to plunge in and do it? Mel: I decided to just step up to the plate and take a swing at it. I fooled around with video cameras and stuff, and it's amazing how much you learn from screwing around with video and trying to make sequences. But I decided to just step into it. It's scary as hell, but it's fun too. Question: did you seek advice from some of the directors you had worked with? Did any of them become your mentor? Mel: I would say things like, hey, I'm going to direct this film and I'm scared, and hope for some words of wisdom. And occasionally they'd come. I actually talked to Clint Eastwood on the phone. I said, man, I'm kind of nervous here. He said to me, you've probably got a lot more subliminal stuff in your head than you realize. And he was right. Besides, you're not alone in this thing. There's a wealth of experienced people all around you who are experts in their particular fields, and they are there to support you. Whenever I didn't know something, I would look to their experience to bail me out. I didn't have one specific godfather, but the advice of many. Question: why did you choose Man Without a Face as your first feature film rather than an action film or more visual kind of film? Mel: I thought the story was strong and I liked the characters, and it was a small film. Going out there for the first time, I didn't want to do anything too extravagant. I wanted to see what I could achieve with a minimal amount of fuss. Question: on the surface, it probably seemed like a simple film to do, but I imagine once you got into it, it wasn't that simple. You not only directed it, but also starred in it. Mel: I must admit I was terrified, and it proved to be quite trying at times, but you just get through it. Question: was it very stressful for you to both act and direct? Mel: Man Without a Face was far more stressful than Braveheart because it was the first time I had to face that struggle. How did you overcome it, Mel? I overcame it by relaxing, by realizing what's there, by learning from my mistakes, and by simply going into it the next time with a lot more confidence. Question: was it difficult to cast the role of the boy Chuck and the role of the girl Megan? Answer: looking was a long process, but it wasn't difficult once I saw them. The boy, Nick Stahl, was extraordinary for his age and displayed something I'd never seen before in a child actor. Nick was unusual because his dialogue would come out in response to an obvious thought process he was going through, whereas most of the other kids who came in and read tried to lay a veneer of emotion over it, which is wrong. They had been taught bad habits. This kid would think and experience, which is extremely important. It took him twice as long to do the reading, but he was slowly going through the process. I watched him in amazement. I'd never seen this in anyone so young. Why did you choose to play McLeod? Did you first consider other actors? Yes, I did. They either couldn't make it or didn't want to do it. Let's face it, it wasn't the greatest part in the world. But I thought it was interesting. I figured, hey, I've got to be there anyway. I might as well slap on the pizza and take a crack at it. You could have cast a star to play Catherine, the boy's mother. Why did you choose a relatively unknown actress? I saw her in a Michael J. Fox film, The Secret of My Success. She played his aunt, and she was really funny. Her comic timing was great. I looked at her work and thought, my God, she's terrific. And once you know, you know. It's that simple. Do you believe that rehearsals are necessary? What do you focus on in rehearsals if you have them, Mel? Response. Rehearsals are really nice to have. What I think you achieve is a chance to analyze the scenes and break them down and talk about what you think they're about and what you think the characters are about. And you try to find some kind of unity of purpose with your cast in those meetings where you just sit around the table and talk. I don't actually start blocking scenes. I think that is not usually important in the rehearsal stage. I find it limiting. Some of the scenes you know approximately how you're going to shoot and what things you must do to save time and money, yet do as truthfully as possible. The battle scenes in Bravehearts were very, very, very carefully planned as to the strategies and the terrain that we needed and all the things that I specifically wanted to see. We planned them out thoroughly with shot lists and storyboards because they were going to be so chaotic that we had to know beforehand exactly what we were going to do. You can't just go into something like that with no preparation. You've got to be very specific. But I've got to tell you, as much as we pre planned and in great detail, once we got on the set, we deviated from those plans to a good degree. We were able to respond so well to conditions on the field because we were so organized. In some situations, the more organized you are, the more latitude you have to respond to the moment and improvise without creating too much havoc. It's almost like a military thing. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Mel Gibson interview, part two, part three and four coming up. Thank you, Mel, for your great wisdom, and the best is yet to come. Hopefully, you found this entertaining and educational. If you liked it, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.